The ultimatum, the stars were silent. But the message carried through every corner of the galaxy. The Galactic Council, the most powerful union of alien races, had spoken. Their voice echoed across space. Cold and without mercy, Earth must surrender. The ultimatum declared, or be erased from existence. Planets far and wide heard the warning, and fear spread quickly. Some alien worlds whispered that humans should obey. Others laughed, certain that humanity was too weak to resist. But on Earth, the reaction was different. The people listened in silence, their faces pale, their hearts heavy. They knew what surrender meant, slavery under alien rulers forever. They also knew what refusal meant, the destruction of their world. In the great council hall of Earth, leaders gathered from every nation. Holographic screens replayed the council's message over and over. The room was tense, filled with shadows and whispered fears. A general spoke, his voice sharp. If we bow, we lose our freedom. Our children will be born in chains. Another leader argued, if we resist, billions will die in fire. Voices rose, anger mixed with fear. But in the middle of the room, an old man in a dark uniform remained silent. His eyes were calm, his face hard as stone. When the shouting stopped, all eyes turned to him. He was Admiral Kale, a man known for few words, but strong action. He finally spoke, his voice quiet but steady. We have waited long enough. The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging heavy. For decades, rumors had spread about a secret project. Some called it a myth. Others dismissed it as fantasy. They spoke of the Black Fleet, a hidden armada built in silence. Ships forged not in pride, but in preparation for the day humanity would face extinction. The ultimatum had awakened something Earth had hidden deep under oceans. Under moons, within asteroids, a shadow army waiting for the right moment. The leaders leaned closer. Is it true? One whispered, do these ships exist? Admiral Kale gave no smile, only a cold nod. They exist, and they are ready. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, alien broadcasters mocked Earth. They are nothing, said one alien voice. Their weapons are primitive. Their armies are small. Another sneered. Earth is a dying world. One strike from the Council will end them. But even as they spoke, reports began to spread. Council scouts near the outer edges of the solar system had vanished. Their signals cut off, their ships never returning. Whispers of fear began to ripple. Was humanity truly so powerless? Or had they prepared in silence all these years? On Earth, fear still gripped the people. Families huddled in their homes, staring. At the night sky, children asked their parents if the aliens would come tomorrow. Mothers and fathers had no answers, only trembling hands. The ultimatum gave Earth 7 days to decide. 7 days before the Council's armada would arrive. 7 days before humanity's fate was sealed. But deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive hangar doors began to open. Salt water rushed aside as shadows moved within the depths. Black steel rose from the darkness, silent and deadly. The first of the black ships awakened, engines humming like the growl of ancient beasts. They had no flags, no bright colors, only armor dark as night. They were made to disappear into the void, unseen until the moment of strike above Earth's surface. The skies filled with streaks of light. Shuttles carried crews to hidden bases on the moon. Pilots whispered prayers before sealing their helmets. Soldiers loaded weapons they had trained with in secret for years. The world outside still lived in fear, but within the shadows, humanity was preparing for war. The Galactic Council believed Earth would bend the knee. They believed no race had ever dared to defy them. But humanity was not like the others. For every loss in their history, they had rebuilt stronger. For every empire that tried to crush them, they had risen again. Now the Council would learn the truth. Humans could be pushed, threatened, and wounded, but they could never be broken, Admiral. Kale stood once more before the leaders of Earth. He looked at their frightened faces, and spoke the words they had feared and hoped to hear. "Tell the Council," he said, "Earth will not surrender." Gasps filled the chamber, but the decision was final. The ultimatum had been answered, not with silence, not with fear, but with defiance. And somewhere in the dark, beyond the stars, the Black Fleet stirred, waiting for the moment to reveal itself to the galaxy. The countdown had begun. 7 days, 7 nights, until the galaxy learned that humanity was no longer prey. The ultimatum had been given, but Earth would write its own answer. Humanity's choice, the ultimatum, still echoed across Earth. Every screen, every broadcast, every transmission repeated the same words. Submit or be erased, the Galactic Council had commanded. The world was split in fear. In crowded cities, people marched with signs begging leaders to surrender. They said survival was better than destruction. Others shouted in anger, demanding to fight even if it meant death. Families wept in their homes, unsure if tomorrow would even exist. The air itself felt heavy, as if the whole planet held its breath. Inside Earth's secret command bunker, the debate raged louder. Generals, scientists, and politicians filled the room. Some slammed their fists on the table, shouting, "We cannot fight them. They have millions of ships. They will burn Earth to ashes." Others argued with fire in their voices, "If we surrender, our children will never know freedom. Better to die as humans than live as slaves." Arguments collided like thunder, fear against pride, survival against freedom. And in the middle of it all stood Admiral Kale, silent once again. He was watching, waiting, his eyes calm, his hands folded behind his back. Everyone knew he carried the answer, but he spoke nothing yet, far beyond Earth. In the cold silence of space, the Council's fleets began to move. Thousands of ships gathered like a storm cloud, preparing to fall upon the solar system. The galaxy watched, confident that humans would surrender. After all, no other race had ever said no to the Council and survived. But whispers had begun to spread, whispers of a hidden fleet, ships cloaked in shadow, weapons unlike anything seen before. The aliens laughed at such rumors, calling them desperate lies. But inside Earth's hidden shipyards, those whispers were becoming real. In deep oceans, vast hangars lit up with glowing red lights. Colossal ships, black as night, rose from their docks. Crew members boarded in silence, their faces grim but determined. Every man and woman knew this might be their last voyage. On the far side of the moon, more hangars opened, releasing shadows into space. The Black Fleet was stirring, but still hidden, still waiting for the command. Back on Earth, the debate reached its breaking point. The President of the United Earth stood, his voice heavy with fear. "We are choosing between 2 deaths," he said, "one in chains, one in fire. Which death do we give our children?" The silence that followed was unbearable. Then, slowly, Admiral Kale stepped forward, his boots echoing on the steel floor. He spoke only one sentence, but it was enough. "There is a third choice," he said, "to fight and to win." The room erupted, some in disbelief, some in hope. "How can we win?" One shouted, "They have the power of 1,000 worlds." Kale's eyes narrowed, his voice sharp as a blade. "Because they do not understand us. Because they have never faced humans who refuse to break." Across the galaxy, alien broadcasters mocked Earth's delay. They begged for mercy in their silence. One alien sneered, another laughed. "They are too afraid to decide. Their fear will destroy them before our weapons do." But in the shadows, Earth was already moving. Black ships disappeared into the void, testing their cloaking fields. Long-range weapons locked onto enemy patrols, waiting for the first order. The galaxy thought Earth weak, but Earth was already preparing its answer. Admiral Kale returned to the command center, standing before the leaders once more. "We cannot surrender," he said, his voice like iron. "If we kneel, Earth dies forever. But if we stand, we have a chance, even if small." The president looked at him, fear and courage battling in his eyes. "And if we lose?" he asked quietly. Kale answered without hesitation. "Then we will fall as humans, and the galaxy will remember that Earth never bowed." The decision was made. Though the fear did not vanish, orders spread across secret bases and hidden stations. Pilots strapped into fighters, their hands trembling but ready. Engineers loaded weapons with quiet prayers. Families were secretly evacuated to underground shelters. And somewhere, far away in the stars, the first black ship uncloaked for only a moment, just long enough for Council scouts to glimpse its monstrous size. Then it vanished again, leaving only terror in the enemy's hearts. Earth had spoken without words. They would not surrender. They would not kneel. The Council had demanded obedience, but what they had awakened was something older, darker, and far more dangerous. For when humanity was cornered, they did not submit. They fought, and they burned brighter than the stars themselves. The choice was made, and soon the galaxy would feel the weight of that choice. The Black Fleet was coming, and it carried the fury of all mankind. Shadows in the void, the galaxy believed it understood war. For thousands of years, the Galactic Council had crushed rebellions with overwhelming fleets. Every uprising ended the same way: fire, silence, surrender. But now something strange was happening. Patrols near the solar system were disappearing. Convoys went dark. Scouts sent messages of panic. Then nothing more. No wreckage, no distress calls, only silence. The void itself seemed to swallow them whole in the council chambers. Alien leaders argued. "The humans are hiding," one growled. "They are frightened prey," another hissed. But behind their arrogance, unease was growing. Reports of black shadows in the void could not be ignored. Some claimed to see massive shapes drifting between the stars. Others whispered of weapons that ripped ships apart before they could fire. Back, the rumors spread like wildfire, and with them, fear. Back on Earth, Admiral Kale stood aboard the command bridge of the first black ship. The vessel's interior was dark, lit only by faint red lines along the walls. Every sound was muted. Every crew member moved with quiet focus. The ship itself felt alive, as if the metal breathed with them. They had named it Erebus, after the ancient god of darkness, and darkness was what it carried into the void. Kale's eyes fixed on the holographic display, a council patrol of 6. Cruisers drifted across the edge of the asteroid belt. Their scans were active, their voices mocking. "They hide like rats," one alien captain said, unaware that death was already stalking him. Kale raised his hand slowly. "Cloaked stable," reported the navigator. "Target locked," whispered the weapons officer. Kale gave the order, only 2 words. "Engage shadows." The void itself seemed to scream, a flash of invisible energy. Cut across space, the first council cruiser split apart in silence. Its engines torn from its hull. Before the others could react, rail lances fired from the black ship, piercing steel and shattering shields. One by one, the alien ships fell. Their screams cut short. Within minutes, 6 powerful cruisers were reduced to drifting wreckage. The humans vanished again, the black ship slipping back into nothingness. Only silence remained. The council received the news hours later. Their commanders refused to believe it. "Pirates," one said. "Malfunction," another insisted, but deep down, they knew the truth. Something had struck their fleet, something they could not see, something they could not stop. And yet, this was only the beginning, for Erebus was not alone. Beneath oceans, hidden on moons, buried in hollow asteroids, more black ships were waking. Nyx, Charon, Thanatos, names whispered like omens. Each ship built with weapons the Council had never faced, each one cloaked in technology so advanced it turned the void into their ally. Together they were a shadow armada, and they had been waiting for this moment for decades on Earth. People still trembled under the shadow of the ultimatum. They did not yet know what their leaders had unleashed. They saw only fear on the news. only the Council's warnings of destruction. But above them, in the silent dark, the truth was unfolding. Humanity was no longer waiting. Humanity was hunting. Kale stood in the command chair of Erebus, his voice calm. "They think we are weak," he said. "They think we will kneel." The crew listened, silent, their eyes burning with determination. But tonight, the galaxy learns our answer. The black ships spread out, each one slipping into the void, like shadows crawling across the stars. They moved with patience, striking only when the enemy least expected. One moment the void was empty. The next it was fire and death. Council fleets began to hesitate, their commanders speaking in hushed voices. How do we fight what we cannot? See? Still, the Council tried to keep control. Broadcasts continued, demanding Earth's surrender, but the voice of fear was spreading faster than their orders. Small colonies near the borders began to question their loyalty, if humans could stand. Against the Council, maybe others could too. The cracks in the Empire were forming, and all because of shadows in the void. Back in Earth's command bunker, leaders watched the reports with disbelief. Alien fleets destroyed, patrols silenced. Scouts fleeing in terror. Can it be true? One whispered, "Are we winning?" Admiral Kale gave no smile, no sign of joy. "This is only the first step," he said, his eyes cold as iron. "The Council will come in force, and when they do, we must be ready." The void had become Earth's weapon. The Black Fleet had become its answer. And now, for the first time in history, the galaxy began to fear humanity. First Contact, the galaxy had laughed at Earth. They had called humanity weak, foolish, and doomed. But the laughter was fading, replaced by whispers of terror. Too many Council patrols had vanished. Too many fleets had gone silent. And then, one night, the galaxy finally saw the truth with its own eyes. It began at the edge of the Vega system. A convoy of Council warships was moving through the trade lanes. Dozens of cruisers, escorts, and carriers filled the black sky. Their lights glowed like a parade, their voices confident. They believed no human ship would dare to face them. But in the silence beyond their scanners, shadows were waiting. Admiral Kale stood aboard Erebus, watching the fleet with cold eyes. "They outnumber us 50-1, whispered his second-in-command. Kale's voice was steady. "Good," he said. "Let them believe numbers can save them." His hand lowered slowly. The signal was given. The void itself seemed to ripple. And then, one by one, the black ships revealed themselves. From the shadows, titans of black steel appeared. Their armor drank the light, their shapes sharp and alien. The convoy's scanners screamed in alarm. Dozens of ships uncloaked at once, surrounding the Council fleet. For the first time, the galaxy witnessed the Black Fleet, and it was like staring into the abyss. The Council commanders panicked. "Identify yourselves," one shouted over comms, his voice trembling. The reply came, a human voice, calm and merciless. "This is Earth," it said. "Your ultimatum has been answered." Then the stars lit up in fire. Rail lances tore through cruisers before their shields could rise. Pulse. Cannons burned holes into carriers, sending debris spinning into the void. Missiles flew like silent arrows, striking with deadly precision. The Council ships fired back wildly, their weapons blazing across the dark. But their beams passed harmlessly through shadows. The Black Fleet moved like predators, vanishing and reappearing, striking without mercy. The battle lasted less than 15 minutes. When it was over, the convoy was gone. Only wreckage drifted, burning silently in the void. And the Black Fleet vanished once more, leaving no trace, but the galaxy had seen it. Every transmission, every signal had been recorded. For the first time, alien worlds saw humanity's hidden power. They saw ships that should not exist, weapons beyond reason. They saw Earth rise from prey to predator. In the Council chambers, panic erupted. "They have warships cloaked from our scanners," cried one leader. They destroyed a full fleet in minutes. Screamed another, but worst of all was the silence of fear. For in all their history, no race had ever stood against the council like this, and no fleet had ever struck with such shadows. Meanwhile, across alien colonies, whispers spread like fire. Did you see them? One voice asked. Black as night, moving like ghosts. Another answered. Some spoke in awe, others in fear. But the message was the same. Humanity had not surrendered. Humanity had fought back. Back on Earth, the people still lived in fear. Of the ultimatum, they did not yet know the victory in Vega. Families clung to each other, waiting for news of doom. Children stared at the stars, asking if the aliens would come, but in the secret command bunker, the leaders were watching. The truth, their eyes wide, their voices shaking. They did it, one whispered. Our ships. They won. Admiral Kale's voice came through the transmission. First contact has been made, he said. They know who we are now. They know we will not kneel. The leaders sat in silence, the weight of his words heavy on their hearts. The choice had been made. There was no turning back. The war had begun. And in that moment, something changed across Earth. Fear did not vanish, but something new rose beside it. Hope, for the first time. The people began to believe they might survive. For the first time, the galaxy began to believe humanity was not prey. For the first time, the Council felt what Earth had felt for centuries. The cold hand of fear. The ultimatum was broken. The silence of the void had been shattered. And now the galaxy knew the truth. Earth had answered, and the Black Fleet was only just beginning. The Council strikes back. The Council had been humiliated, their convoys destroyed, their fleets embarrassed, their ultimatum ignored. Across the galaxy, laughter had turned into whispers of doubt, and doubt was the one thing the Council could never allow. So they gathered their might, from every sector, from every stronghold. They pulled ships into a single armada, carriers stretched for miles, destroyers lined in endless rows. It was the largest fleet the galaxy had seen in centuries. Over 50,000 ships, moving like a wall of fire through the stars. Their target was Earth. Their mission was simply erase humanity from existence. In the council chambers, voices thundered. Crush them before others rise, one shouted. Burn Earth so no race will ever dream of rebellion again, another demanded. And so the order was given. The Armada set course for the solar system, confident that no shadows, no tricks, no humans could stand against their power. Back on Earth, the news reached the command bunker. The screens lit up with reports of the Armada, 50,000 ships, an ocean of fire and steel. Even the strongest leaders felt fear ripple through them. This is too much, one whispered. Even the Black Fleet cannot stop this. But Admiral Kale stood silent, his face carved from stone. They will come, he said, his voice calm, and when they do, we will show them why they should have feared us from the beginning. Far in the void, the Black Fleet gathered, not in one place, but scattered across hidden sectors, each ship cloaked, each one watching, waiting. Kale's strategy was not to meet the Armada in open battle. He knew that would mean death. Instead, he planned something different, something only humans could imagine. The first strike came in the Eridani sector. The Council's forward scouts vanished in silence. One moment they were scanning, the next they were debris. The Armada slowed, confused. Then, in the dark, shadows appeared, firing, disappearing, reappearing. Destroyers fell, carriers were crippled, entire squadrons vanished. The Council tried to form defenses, but the enemy was everywhere and nowhere. The Black Fleet was carving at the edges of the Armada like wolves at a herd. Yet the Council did not stop. They pushed forward, burning everything in their path. Colonies were destroyed, stations turned to ash. We will drown them in fire. Their commanders swore, and still the Black Fleet attacked every night. Another squadron disappeared, Every day, another commander woke to reports of disaster. Fear spread through the ranks of the mighty armada. Whispers began. Are they even human? Some asked, they strike like ghosts. They fight like demons. Others muttered. Admiral Kale stood in the shadowed bridge of Erebus, watching the reports with a sharp gaze. This is how they rule, he said quietly. With fear, with overwhelming. Numbers with fire. His crew listened, waiting for his words. But numbers mean nothing in the void. Fear means nothing when you face humans. And fire. Fire is what we do best. Back in the Council fleet, desperation grew. They launched trap after trap. But the humans never fell for them. They deployed drones, but the shadows tore them apart. They tried to cloak their own ships, but the humans saw through the trick. For the first time in history, the Council was fighting an enemy that outhought them, outmaneuvered them, outhunted them. Still, the Armada pressed on. Soon the solar system itself loomed ahead. Earth waited, silent. Families hid in shelters. Children whispered prayers to the stars. The people knew the storm was coming, and yet they also knew something the Council did not. They knew humanity would not face it alone. Because above them, hidden in the void, the Black Fleet was waiting. Admiral Kale looked at the final battle map. The enemy was vast, endless, unstoppable. But his eyes did not show fear. Instead, they held fire. This is where we make history, he said. This is where Earth speaks to the galaxy. He raised his hand, and with it, the shadows of humanity began to move. The Armada had come to strike, but what it found waiting in the void would change the galaxy forever. The Black Fleet was ready, and Earth's answer had only just begun. The battle for Earth. The sky above Earth darkened. Every telescope, every satellite, every eye looking at the stars saw it. The Council Armada had arrived. An endless wall of ships stretching across the void. 50,000 war machines, glowing with fire. Their shadows blotting out the light of distant suns. On the ground, people trembled. Sirens wailed across cities. Bunkers filled with families. Mothers held children close. Fathers stared at the sky in silence. The end of the world seemed only minutes away. The Council had come to erase them, to burn Earth into dust. Inside the Council flagship, Commander Vera stood tall. This ends today, she said coldly. Her voice carried across the fleet. Earth will be an example. No one will ever resist us again. Her captains cheered, their arrogance unbroken. They believed this battle would be easy. They believed humanity would die screaming. But in the shadowed reaches of the void, the Black Fleet stirred. Admiral Kale stood aboard Erebus, the command ship, his eyes locked on the holographic display of the solar system. The enemy covered everything. An ocean of fire and steel, and yet Kale's voice was calm. They think numbers win wars, he said softly. They have not yet met the shadows. With a single signal, the void came alive, one by one. The black ships revealed themselves, from behind moons, from inside asteroids, from cloaks so perfect they had been invisible for hours. They appeared, like nightmares, black titans rising from nothing, dozens, then hundreds, until the Council realized with horror that Earth was not undefended. The Black Fleet had been waiting for them all along. The battle began with silence. Then the sky exploded. Rail lances cut through dreadnoughts, splitting them open like paper. Pulse cannons tore into carriers, sending wreckage into burning spirals. Missiles streaked across the void like falling stars. The Council fired back with everything they had. The void shook with fire and death on Earth. People watched from bunkers as the heavens lit up. The night sky glowed with streaks of flame. It looked like stars were falling, but it was not stars. It was war. The Council Armada surged forward, wave after wave. Their ships burned, but more filled the void. Press them, crush them, no retreat, Commander Vera ordered. But for every human ship that fell, 10 Council vessels were destroyed. The Black Fleet fought with a fury no alien had ever seen. They struck like hunters, patient and merciless. Every ambush was perfect, every shot precise. The void itself seemed to fight for humanity. In the command bridge of Erebus, Kale stood, unshaken. "Keep the line," he ordered. "They will break before we do." His crew moved like shadows, focused and fearless. Every man, every woman knew what was at stake. If they failed, Earth would burn. But none of them intended to fail. The Council tried to break Earth's defenses. They sent entire wings of bombers toward the planet. But from the clouds, hidden cannons roared. From the oceans, submarines rose, firing missiles into the sky. And from orbit, the Black Fleet tore the bombers apart before they could reach the atmosphere. Earth itself had become a fortress. Every corner of the solar system had been prepared for this day. Yet the Council did not retreat. They poured more ships into the fight. Desperate, furious, the void became a graveyard. Burning hulks drifted, broken pieces of steel spun in silence. The stars were hidden by fire and death. Still, humanity fought on. Still, Earth refused to kneel. In the bunker below the surface, leaders listened to the reports. "We are holding," one officer whispered, almost in disbelief. "Council losses rising, their formation breaking." Another added, and for the first time since the ultimatum, hope burned in their hearts. "Commander." Vera screamed in rage aboard her flagship. "This is impossible," she spat, her claws tearing into the command rail. "They are only humans." But her words meant nothing, for outside her ship, the void itself was proving her wrong. Admiral Kale's voice echoed across the fleet. "Hold fast," he commanded. "They came to burn our world, but instead they will learn what Earth is made of." His words spread through every black ship, through every human heart watching the skies. And in that moment, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The Council had struck with fire, but Earth had answered with shadows. And now, in the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen, the outcome was shifting. The prey had become the predator, and the hunters were beginning to know fear. The fall of the Armada, the battle had raged for hours. The solar system was filled with fire, smoke, and drifting wrecks. Both sides had lost countless ships, but only one side was breaking. The Council's great armada, the fleet that was meant to crush humanity, was falling apart. Admiral Kale stood tall on the bridge of Erebus. Reports streamed in, his officers shouting numbers. "Council losses above 40%, one called. "Enemy lines are fracturing." Another said. Kale's eyes never left the display. He saw what the Council could not admit. Their invincible armada was no longer invincible. Across the battlefield, human ships moved like hunters in the dark. Every strike was precise, every attack perfectly timed. They tore into the weakened formation, splitting ships from one another. Where the Council saw chaos, the Black Fleet saw opportunity. It was no longer a war, it was an execution. Commander Vera screamed on her flagship. Her crew trembled at her rage. "Hold the line," she demanded, her voice sharp as a blade. "Push them back. We are the Council. We cannot fall to humans." But her words were empty. Her fleet was no longer listening. Desperation had replaced discipline. Fear had replaced order. On Earth, the people watched the skies. Through screens, through bunkers, through windows, they saw the streaks of fire crossing the heavens. And for the first time, their fear turned to pride. The Council had promised to erase them, but instead, humanity was erasing the Council's pride. The Black Fleet pushed forward. Kale gave the order that sealed the battle. "Form the spear," he commanded. At once, the human ships aligned into a formation, a living weapon. They charged straight into the heart of the Armada. Rail lances firing, missiles streaking, shadows moving faster than light. The spear tore through the Council's core ships. Flagships crumbled, carriers erupted. In fire, Destroyers split apart. The center of the armada was gutted in minutes. On the Council flagship, alarm screamed. Vera staggered as explosions ripped through her ship. "No," she whispered, her voice broken. "This cannot be the end." But it was. A final blast from the Erebus cut through her ship. The mighty flagship that led 50,000 vessels was reduced to fire and dust. Silence fell across the armada. Without their leader, without their heart, the Council fleet collapsed. Some tried to fight, but were cut down. Others fled, scattering into the void. But everywhere they turned, the shadows were waiting. The Black Fleet hunted them, merciless and cold. No safe escape, no mercy, no surrender. Ours. Later, the solar system was quiet again. The Council's greatest armada was gone. Wrecks floated in silence, glowing like dead stars. Earth still stood, alive, undefeated. The Black Fleet had written its name into the galaxy in the command bunker. Cheers erupted, leaders embraced, soldiers wept, civilians lifted their fists to the sky. The impossible had been done. Humanity had faced the greatest power in the galaxy. One, Admiral Kale stood silent, his face calm but his eyes burning. "This is not only a victory," he said quietly. "This is a message." His officers listened, breathless. "We are no longer prey, no longer servants, no longer exiles. We are humanity, and the galaxy will remember this day." Across alien worlds, news spread faster than light. The Council had been defeated. The invincible fleet destroyed by the very species they sought to erase. Whispers turned into shouts. Rebellion stirred in hidden corners. Other races began to dream of freedom. The galaxy itself had changed forever. The Council had demanded surrender. They had come with fire and numbers. But Earth had answered with shadows, with steel, and with fury. The Black Fleet had spoken for humanity, and its voice was thunder. From this day forward, the galaxy would not ask if humans could fight. It would ask who could possibly stand against them.